je nou die paraplu bij halen en dan krijg je nou ook nog eens extra. Ik had de hele week op de hele reis, ik denk dit wordt niks. Nee, ik weet zeker dat het een practical joke van Overduijn is. Die paraplu. Ik heb hem dus, ja. Hou je voor de first estate. Dus dit is gewoon heilig wat hier staat. Je bent gelijk even commentaar geven. Ja, precies. Heel goed. Dit is Willem zijn mekka eigenlijk.
Waar is nou het ontbijt?
En Arie vraagt naar het ontbijt. Heeft hij nog geen pijn? Hij wil eerst eten totdat het pijn doet. Daar gaat hij. Kom mee naar het mekka van Ford. Heeft een beetje achter het net gevist. Want hij ging lekker eten, dacht hij. En toen bleek dat het organisatietalent van de keuken ons enigszins in de steek had gelaten. Dus vandaar dat Wim nu geen bord meer heeft. En hij niet heeft kunnen eten. Kijk even rond. Dit is Arie. Arie had ook graag meer gegeten waarschijnlijk. Je kunt het wel zien als een jukbeenderen die een beetje doorheen beginnen te steken ook. Ja. Verder is het een gezellige bedoeling. Hier in het zwembad van Henry Ford II. We gaan straks naar buiten om een mooie tour te maken. Dit is Handschep, NBC.
There's also a very small little plaque that speaks in a tribute to the primarily job role we see here, sowing and harvesting. Ford of birds, wildlife, and animals. Part of the estate was set aside as a sanctuary, and we see wild and domesticated birds and animals. The bottom center is one that has come down from the Middle Ages. We do not know the author. To no one is given right of delay, noted in heaven the past of each day. Be not comfortless. This is the other day. First one to have profit sharing, you must do eventually for you. The estate was begun in 1914, and this was to be the last home of Henry and Clara Ford. They lived here from 1915 until their deaths. This was the last of 15 homes that they resided in. Mr. Ford originally, the radio is one of the few things in the room that's not original. However, the table...
Ik zit hier dus in dit is het zomerbed van Henry en daar is het winterbed. En dat betekent dat ze alleen zomers gemeenschap hadden, want dan sliepen ze samen. En 's winters sliepen ze apart. Nee, Wim, het is wel prachtig.
Een mooi borduurwerkje. Geef je weer opmerkingen?
Furniture. There's still no display difference.
Is het een beetje te donker, hè?
Nee, maar met deze moderne apparatuur kan het makkelijk.
Affidavit for license to marry. It's a marriage license. Ik zal hem even voorlezen. Voor Henry en verklaring.
Oh ja.
En dat is het geboortebewijs volgens mij. Oh, nee, dat is het overlijdensberichtbewijs. Wacht even, ik zal het even voorlezen. Op 7 april 1947 heeft Henry in Dearborn de geest gegeven. En hij had een cerebral hemorrhage.
Ja, zo bedoel ik.
Ja.
Was very instrumental in helping Mr. Ford plan the powerhouse, and when he came here he would stay in this room. It's distinctly different in style than any other room in the house. You notice the arched ceilings, the beams, stained glass in the window. the arches over the windows, even the hardware on the windows are all late Elizabethan or Tudor decorations. The wood in here is lined oak. The wood was given a solution to make it. If you want to take a quick look at the picture, it will show you how Edsel had it furnished. Now we're going to head back down that main staircase, and we're going to go through the, be the last gentleman. Both Mr. and Mrs. Ford enjoyed their library. The books behind the protective covering are the originals. If you're standing on this side or over there and you want to look at some of the titles, you'll find quite a variety of interests. Mr. Ford did enjoy reading about many changes over the years. Originally, there were silk panels that were stretched between the decorative columns around the room. After Mrs. Ford tired of that, the room was paneled with the same paneling that you see in the archway. It's an oak paneling stained to look like French grained walnut. But again, in the 1930s, Mrs. Ford was perhaps influenced by her decorating. Enjoyed entertaining friends and family here in the music room with earlier American musicians. They did not care for Mr. Ford's nickname for Clara. Of course, at one time there was a channel cut from the boathouse to the river so the electric launch could be taken out. That has been filled in. We are thinking of perhaps opening that up again. Wicker furniture that you use on the porch, it is heated and they could spend winters out here also. A nice weatherman out here on this little balcony, and they spent many hours out here watching the birds and the deer and the peacocks that were on the. The house is built in a modified English fortress style. Very fragile, so we do ask your cooperation in not leaning on or touching any of the furniture in here. We did get a chair broken about a year ago. And you may have been seated next to one of Mr. Ford's prominent guests. President Herbert Hoover visited Fairlane, the Duke of Windsor. This room was renovated about 10 years ago, and we decided to take this little closet space and make it into our interpretation of the Santa Claus workshop. Mr. Ford had this little men who like to take the camping trips together. One represents Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and John. We lost a few. Oh, excuse me. Oh, they're downstairs. But then it's like 4 more, and they're in the visitor center. Well, I guess we lost some of our group. The camping truck that was used by Mr. Ford, and the electric car was not Mrs. Ford's, it was one just like hers. She drove a little electric.
This is Francis from Golf, and I wish you a lot of luck.
Dat is een leuke man.
Ja, dus on.
Dat Jackie in zit daar.
opbouwen. Lange trip te maken.
Ik kan wel zeggen, ja.
Willem voor het wiel.
Even kijken. Dit is Willem. En dan is dit de locomotief. Tot daar en terug. En dan is Willem weer. En het gaat door tot daarachter. Jezus Wim, je bent bijna zo groot als het wiel.
Ja, kan je nagaan.
Dat is niet te geloven.
Ja, Johannes, dit is Johan de Wit en Clinton.
Here, there's a coconut.
Ik zou wel voor de rechter moeten komen nu.
Ja. 3 van die dames, dat weet je helemaal niet, hè?
Jan Peter. Hij was een Ford dealer uit Haarlem hoor. In Detroit. Lost in the Ford Museum.
Maar dat is makkelijker, dat kun je weer zien.
Ja, nou ik zag hem wel. Hè?
Voor de mensen die thuis ook leuker vinden.
Rustig daarachter.
Thuis.
Maar gewoon als de peklamp erop zit.
Toch? Wat is dat?
Peklamp.
Oh, die, oh ja.
En gekke vrouwen.
En nog steeds. Alle soorten, dat maakt mij niet uit.
Dat maakt jou.
Dat maakt het niet uit.
Theo kan Good
afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard the Greenfield Village train. For your safety, we ask that you remain seated while the train is in motion. And please refrain from smoking, eating, or drinking while you're on the train. Thank you. The journey will take approximately 35 minutes to complete, and that will bring you right back here to the main parcel of land. 80 acres are devoted to historical building sites. And the first historical site was born on July 30th, 1863. The house had been built by his own father, William Ford, a few years prior in 1861. Henry lived at the farm in Dearborn, Michigan until he reached the age of 16. At that time, he made a major decision, and that was that he really didn't want to be a farmer, so he decided to walk into Detroit, Michigan, get himself a job, and even a room in a boarding house. And Mr. Ford was located in downtown Detroit. Our reproduction is about 1/8 the actual size of the original. The two-story brick building to your left with the yellow extension to the rear is the Wright Cycle Shop, often referred to as where the birthplace of aviation took place. This is where Orville and Rover in their spare time made parts for their flying machine. Finally, after many frustrated attempts at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, on December 17, 1903, in the balcony incandescent light bulb. Now, when you visit Menlo Park, you'll be greeted at the first and second level by presenters who will go into more detail about the various inventions he was able to accomplish. Holding up pretty good for an old fella. Idea of going in there, brick extension in the rear of it, the Webster House. It's the last house that Noah Webster lived in. While Mr. Hart, May 17th is 7 days from today. Get your cameras ready, it's a Kodak moment coming out. I like it when it's usually got the paddle wheel operating.
Two firemen. That's how they got the other people there in case of fires. The turntable out in the field is from Petoskey, Michigan, near Marquette. Oh my goodness, wow, this is for the Petoskey people. Circular
Oh, dat is wat mooi. Ik ben er nou eens, hoor. Wat zeg je? Dat is Roland. Dat zijn Explorer.
Hey, een XLT is een beetje de cheap uit de basisversie, hè?
XLT? Nee.
XLT is basis, hè?
Is het aan de kant niet, hè? Dat lijkt wel weer honing aan de kant zit. Ja, ja.
We komen eraan een beetje. Zoals aan neuf.
Ja.
Even.
Ja, ik heb je.
Kutje.
Ja, lachen.
Kutje.
Ik heb je al. Ja, nog even. Laat het maar zakken in je broek.
Ja, kijk, ziet ze heeft er verstand van.
Maar ik maak de hele serie.
Nee, dan gaan we met z'n drieën. Kom maar.
Ik neem er ook mee van Willem.
Willem, ben je alleen?
Van alle mensen die volgend jaar geen dealer zijn, neem ik ook van. Ja. Heb ik nu het woord, dames en heren, aan uw NBC-reporter Hans Schep.
We zijn hier samen met onze designer.
In bruin pak.
Je kunt designers herkennen aan hun bruine pak.
In het bezit van een schone zus.
Zussen. What do you think of the latest Ford models?
Which one?
Or the one you designed?
Which one?
Dit was
You don't have a clue about the models, you stupid journalist.
Dit was Ford Headquarters. Dit was een zeer
Very interesting. Design.
Fransen, nee, andersom.
Dan hebben we lekker de zon. Dat is weten.
Wij gaan naar de Bahama's met een incentive, wat zijn jullie?
Dames en heren, ook we zijn hier bij World Headquarters van Ford. En zojuist is er een bijzondere ontdekking geweest waarvan wij nu de reconstructie zullen tonen. Deze voetstap.
Een voetstap. En tot voor kort wisten wij niet van wie deze voetstap was. En ik liep hier en wat blijkt? Dat dit precies past.
Dit kan alleen maar deze schoen geweest zijn. En wie moet deze grootheid wel niet zijn? Jawel, dames en heren.
En aangezien ik een deel uit mijn leven inderdaad mis in mijn geheugen, weet ik nu dat ik hier een verleden heb. En we gaan straks binnen uitzoeken wat dat precies is, want waarschijnlijk hangt mijn foto ergens aan de wand op de bovenste verdieping.
Maar je begrijpt me wel.
We have now approximately half an hour time for a kind of question and answer session with Ford. We're going to do it as follows. Jennifer has a hands-free microphone, so whoever wants to ask a question, please raise your hand and Jennifer or Wendy or somebody else will come to your table. Mr. Ford has also a hands-free microphone and he will walk around.
Thank you.
Mr. Ford, my name is Thijs van Leeuwen, I live in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. I should like to ask you a question about the strategics of Ford. To the saying of Mr. Nesser that he wants to become the first automotive company in the world. Now, we have seen the last years in Holland that the market share was declining. And I should like to ask you, can you tell us something about the strategic reason why you bought Volvo and why you bought QuickFit after sales, for the after sales?
First of all, I'm very... Can everybody hear me all right? No? Is that better? I'm avoiding answering that question because it was very complicated. And I will answer, but first of all, let me welcome you on behalf of Ford Management to dear Flat Rock. I heard so. Sounds like in general terms you've had a good time. I'm very pleased to be with you today. And I have an hour, so we can sit here for an hour and talk. I will promise you one thing. I will answer your questions, but I may not answer them the way you want them answered. Most of my dealer friends say that I'm very direct, I've built a reputation over
segment. Now you took over Volvo. What's the strategy about the higher segment, the premium brands in Europe?
Well, we also talked about that at our table. I'm glad you're asking all the questions that we talked about at lunch, so now I have all the answers. We understand that there needs to be what I'll call a Ford brand in the luxury market. We clearly don't want to abandon that. Now, I can't tell you what the car is going to be today, but I know there's a lot of discussion going on about what we're going to put there, but I agree with you. I mean, as you can see, I can't fit into a backseat of a Mondeo very well, so I'm very anxious to have something too. You asked about quick fit. I just remembered that you asked about that and I didn't answer the quick fit story. I think that the Ford Customer Service Division in Europe decided medium-sized dealer or a small dealer. And as I was saying at lunch, I think that the dealer business, the business, visiting the people in Ford Australia about 3 weeks ago, at my table that the most important, the business is going to change. Whether we want it to or whether we don't want it to, it's going to change. The key ingredient is that Ford Motor Company, through our managing director, clearly we're not in the retail business. We know nothing about the retail business, although some of the Ford employees will tell you they know a lot. I promise you they know nothing. Having worked as the dealer business changes, you have to talk to us as a company, because we can't go through this revolution that I think we're going to go through without your input. And so I would ask you, as you see all this coming, and it will come, and so do that, because we need your input. We need to go through this revolution together, because clearly if we go through it, we need a new Fiesta, the Mondeo needs a freshening, and all I can say to you is that we're working to keep our products as fresh as we can. I've got great hope that...
Mr. Ford, my name is Losschep, I'm the zone manager. You were talking about the retail business and the role of Ford dealers in the retail business. In what way do you believe that technology, like e-commerce for example, can sustain our business there and can help us in the right way then?
I think we're on the verge of seeing people buy and finance their cars on the internet. I was saying to my table at lunch that in the United States you can actually buy a vehicle and finance it on the internet, arrive at the dealership. People are so well prepared that when they arrive at my dealership, they know the wholesale price of the vehicle. So my market that you're currently getting on new cars, because customers I find are very, very well prepared if they do their homework on the paperwork process is fairly quick, but you also have the opportunity to actually talk to that customer and you know, all of us have to be computer literate. I will tell you that when I come into my office every day, the first thing I do is turn on my bus at wherever, I don't know whether there's a Dutch website, but when you come to the main Ford website, you can actually find a dealer in your local town. And we will actually hot link you from the main Ford website to the dealer website that you want, if that website's up and going. So I would suggest that you give a lot of consideration to possibly establishing a website.
Well, Mr. Ford, my name is John Swartz, a dealership in Amsterdam. And you told us that that wasn't your intention to take direct action in the retail business. But we all are aware of the fact that Ford, after his latest inquiries, which were enormous amounts of money, that you still have a lot of money to spend. We're all aware of that. Is it somewhere in your plans to take a financial interest in strong retailers in the future?
Especially the shareholders that have been around a long time. We have bills to pay too, you know. Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm sure you know, they're not, you're better at it than we are.
My name is Gerrit Johnson, I'm the marketing manager for Ford in the Netherlands. We put a lot of effort in brand building in Europe, and we see now very slowly coming the first results. Can you tell something about how the brand is perceived, the Ford brand is perceived in the United States and where they want to go and how they are doing that?
Well, I think you'll obviously know that the Ford brand is very strong in the United States. Opportunity to visit us here in the United States. Let me end with what I typically end when I meet with dealers.
Mr. Ford, thanks indeed. It was an extremely interesting time with you. We had a very good discussion at the lunch table, and I think the question and answer session really, my introduction about the real, and here I put it again, about our efforts to really polish the Ford overly. We did also something locally, and honestly, I undercalled it a little bit. It was a very big event. We invited all people working for Ford, so all dealer employees, from receptionists to the principal, including partners, the first couple of hundred Ford Focus owners, into a football stadium. We made a big show. It's the Arnhem event, and we actually have a video out from it, and this is the first one we want to give you. 3. And it's only 10 minutes, but if you find the time, we are very proud of it, so it's little. The other point is we have published a book of the 75 years history of Ford in the Netherlands. Although it's written in Dutch, except the preface of Jim Donaldson, you might appreciate the photos. Here we find a lot of photos from your great-grandfather and also from your father. So this one and the last one is a book which is called The Low Skies. It is indeed about the Netherlands. And with thanks of all of us in the name of the entire dealer organization, thanks a lot, and hope we may see each other again in Amsterdam.
Okay, gentlemen, looking right here at me. Very nice, very nice. Smile. And last one, gentlemen. Big smile.
Heb je nog meer mooie teksten, want daar ben ik weer op zoek.
Nee, we zoeken geen babyondergoed, maar schoenen voor Gerrit. Schoenenmerk, maat 48 of 50. Er staat ook ergens bij de 7
Gerrit,
de shoe salesman.
zou je voor mij nog hier de duiven willen doen?
En de duiven op de dam.
Shalalali, shalalala.
Je kunt er wat van.
Shalalali.
Shalalala. Je kunt zelf invullen, jongen.
Even een begin erop.
Ben je ook gesluiten?
Ja. Waarom hou je nu je mond?
Always get in the car. Internet is starting to